Okay. First of all, Mr. Rubio, I'd like to thank you for coming on and taking on this interview. We met last week at the Latin American Republic from South Florida, and I think we can both agree that it was a very colorful evening.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. You asked me for an interview. I said yes. You're a man of your word. You showed up. I'm here. I appreciate that. Now, first of all, tell me a little more about yourself.
Yeah. I was born in Miami. My parents are Cuban exiles who arrived in the late 50s here in Miami. And I was born here in 1971. We moved away. I grew up in Las Vegas, actually, from 79 through 85. And then we moved back here. I went to South Miami Senior Public School here. I graduated from the University of Florida. And then I went to the University of Miami School of Law. And I've lived here ever since. We got married right down the street from where we're sitting in 1998. We married for 10 years. I have 4 kids. The oldest is 9. The youngest is 1.
4 kids?
Yeah, 4. A 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So,
so you're looking for the 5th?
None of our kids have been really planned or anything, so who knows what the future holds. But our 4 are fantastic, and they're blessings, and so we take all the blessings we can get.
So Marco, how did you get involved in politics? What interested you?
I got involved in politics as early as 1980 when I was just an 8-year-old and I was watching the Republican convention. My grandfather was a big Ronald Reagan fan, and that was really my first introduction into politics. And I could say that Ronald Reagan was the beginning of my interest in politics. Thereafter, I worked on some different campaigns, but really the more important was in '96 when I had the honor to, first of all, work the Republican National Convention in San Diego, and then run Bob Dole's campaign in Miami-Dade County. And then in '98, I ran for the City Commission in West Miami, and I was elected. And then again in '99 and 2000, in a special election, got into the Florida House. But my political interests date back to the summer and fall of 1980, when Ronald Reagan got the Republican nomination. I remember watching that on TV as an 8-year-old in Las Vegas.
Just recently, you've announced that you're looking to run for the U.S. Senate seat being left vacant by Senator Mel Martinez. Now, there's also been talk that you may be interested in running for the governor's seat. Obviously, that would be predicated on what Governor Charlie Crist does if he decides to run for the Senate, which he has expressed interest in. Is that a possibility?
Well, right now I'm focused on the United States Senate opportunity, which is real. You know, there's going to be an opening in that, and there's going to be a Republican, and I want our nominee for the Republican Party to be a Republican. And I certainly consider myself to be one, and I look forward to that challenge. And that's where my focus is. People will speculate about what may happen if Charlie Crist switches races and so forth. At that point in time, everyone will sit down and reevaluate where they are and what it means to them. But right now, my focus is on the United States Senate opportunity and on this unique opportunity to be involved in American politics at a moment when I think we're making generational type decisions.
Now, there's a lot of citizens out there that really don't know who Marco Rubio is. A lot of people know you from the House Speaker, but because you have such a meteoric rise in politics, in Florida politics, there's a lot of questions. They don't know where you stand on many issues.
Right.
And of the few people that know of you, of these issues, where you stand on these issues, there's a lot of misconceptions on where you stand on some particular issues. So I called this interview because I kind of want to dispel a lot of those misconceptions.
Okay.
And set the record straight.
Sure.
All right, so let's get to it. Do you consider yourself a conservative?
Yes.
Okay. So where do you stand on the right to life issue?
I have a strong record on right to life and pro-life issues. In fact, there isn't a piece of legislation from the pro-life community that I haven't supported. And to me, it's a double-edged issue. Number one, just on the constitutional side, I think Roe v. Wade, just as a lawyer, I think Roe v. Wade is wrong. And then I also believe on the social and moral side that any society that starts defining life, in essence starts saying this kind of life is worthy of protection, but this kind of life is not. Not only is that, I think that's a very dangerous position to be in for any society. So I would say that I am clearly pro-life on all those issues.
What do you think the role should be for the government? I personally believe they should take a very limited role in the lives of U.S. citizens.
The economic role of government should be very, very limited in particular. I don't think we want to live in a country where government gets to pick the winners and the losers in our economy. When government picks the winners and the winners is always, these big business companies that can influence the process. The small entrepreneur, the ones who create jobs and opportunity, the ones who have always led America through tough times, into the good times, are hurt in an environment where government picks winners and losers. So I believe in a limited role of government in the economy, and I think that the Republican Party has to be the voice for that point of view.
Recently, the Obama administration has said they're going to put a ban on certain types of weapons and tax ammunition. Now, if you tax the ammunition, I feel that it's pretty much just like taking your guns away, because if you can't buy ammunition, how can you load a gun and shoot it? Do you support the Second Amendment?
I don't. I do support the Second Amendment. I don't support that initiative. You know, the Second Amendment is one of those unique things in our Constitution that sets us apart from other countries. But the public policy behind it, the people who are arguing for these things are worried about gun violence. It's kind of ridiculous because gun violence is propagated by criminals. Criminals don't go to stores and buy guns through the governmental process. They get them off the streets, the black market. They don't register them. Right. They certainly don't get their ammunition from Walmart or your neighborhood gun shop. The truth of the matter is that the only people committing gun crime in America are criminals. And criminals aren't going to be affected by laws that they don't follow anyway. So I'm against all those sorts of measures because the only people being punished by it are law-abiding citizens.
So you're against a ban on assault rifles?
I am.
Okay. What about raising taxes on ammo?
It's the same thing. It's another attempt to basically infringe upon our Second Amendment rights, which is a unique American constitutional attribute.
Okay. Well, that being said, I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that you're against raising taxes. You're for lower taxes.
Yeah, we're not anarchists. We all understand there's some level of government, and there are things government and only government can do, like national security. And to fund that, you have to pay taxes. I don't think that's the issue. The issue is when government starts to use the tax policies to either distribute wealth or to pick winners and losers in the economy. And that's where I think we need to start getting worried about taxes. You know, all this massive debt that's going on in this country, that's going to be paid through tax increases. That's how it's eventually going to be paid off. And those tax increases are going to lead to less job creation and less entrepreneurship, less economic opportunity. And so that's why we need to be against it. It's not just because taxes are inherently evil. It's because they have a devastating economic impact. On the other hand, there are certain tax cuts, majority of tax cuts, which in the long term actually lead to more revenue for government. Capital gains tax is a great example. Our corporate tax rate is another good example of taxes we could lower that would ultimately lead to less of a burden on the American people and more revenue for government. So why not?
And you're a big proponent, or you still are a big proponent of lowering property tax.
I think the property tax, as it relates especially to your primary residence, is the worst kind of tax possible. Because as I always tell people, you can pay off your mortgage, but if you don't pay your taxes, the government will take away your house, which means that no matter what, as long as you're paying property taxes, you'll never own your home.